ask you something. What does $7 million buy you in most parts of the world? A private island, maybe? A fleet of supercars? A small village in rural France? In California, it buys you a house. Just a house, not even the biggest one in the block. There's something almost surreal about California's real estate market. We're not talking about one or two wild outliers that skew the numbers. We're talking about entire towns, actual communities with zip codes and mayors and school districts, where the average home price sits comfortably above $5, $6, even $7 million, where neighbors argue over fence lines that cost more to build than most people's entire homes. I've been down this rabbit hole for a while now, looking at Zillow data, California Association of Realtors reports, and some truly jaw-dropping property listings. And what I found wasn't just surprising, it completely changed how I think about wealth, real estate, and what it means to live well in America. So today, we're going to walk through the most expensive places to own a home in the entire state of California. And trust me, by the end of this, you'll never look at a Zillow listing the same way again.
Number 10. Atherton. Everything on this list has been built to this, Atherton. The name might not ring bells the way Beverly Hills does, and that's almost the point. Atherton doesn't need you to know about it. The people who live there aren't trying to be known, they're trying to be left alone. And they've constructed, over the course of a century, a town that is perfectly optimized for exactly that purpose. Located in San Mateo County, squarely in the heart of Silicon Valley, between Menlo Park and Palo Alto, Atherton holds a distinction that sounds almost made up. It is the most expensive town in the United States of America by median home price. Not just the most expensive in California, the most expensive in the country. As of 2025, the average home value sits at $7.45 million, with a median listing price hovering around $10.8 million. Let that sink in for a moment. The midpoint of the market, the point at which half of all homes are priced higher and half are priced lower, is nearly $11 million. There are no sidewalks in Atherton. There are no commercial businesses within city limits, not a single coffee shop, not a grocery store, not a gas station. The zoning is entirely residential, enforced with an almost religious commitment. The streets are lined with mature trees so dense that in some parts of town you can drive for blocks without seeing any structure at all. Properties sit on 1 to 2 acre minimum lots, many significantly larger, and the homes themselves range from understated mid-century moderns to genuinely palatial estates behind gates that you simply cannot see past from the road. The residents of Atherton are in aggregate among the wealthiest people on Earth. This is where Silicon Valley's apex class chose to plant itself, the venture capital titans who funded the companies that defined the internet age, the CEOs and founders whose net worths are measured in the tens of billions, the quiet inheritors of industrial fortunes who have been here before the tech boom and will be here long after whatever comes next. The town's proximity to Stanford University and to the headquarters of firms like Sequoia Capital and Andreessen Horowitz is not coincidental. Atherton is, in a very real sense, the infrastructure of the innovation economy's highest tier. The community is patrolled by private security in addition to the local police force. The gates on many properties are serious engineering, not decorative. Privacy here isn't a preference, it's a design requirement. And yet, for all of its exclusivity and insularity, Atherton is surprisingly livable in its physical character. The streets are quiet, the trees are old and magnificent, the air quality is exceptional, and the landscape has a park-like quality that feels almost peaceful if you don't know what the houses cost. It is, in its own very strange way, a beautiful place. It just happens to be a beautiful place that is accessible only to a sliver of humanity. Home values here have climbed 150% since 2010, and the trajectory shows no meaningful signs of reversal. The combination of structurally constrained supply, you genuinely cannot build more houses in Atherton in any significant way, And a buyer pool that is functionally unlimited in terms of financial resources creates market dynamics that defy the normal rules of real estate cycles. When Silicon Valley has a good year, Atherton's prices go up. When Silicon Valley has a bad year, Atherton's prices go sideways. They essentially never go down in any sustained way. If you want to understand where American wealth ultimately concentrates itself, where it goes when it's done proving itself and just wants to exist quietly behind a very expensive gate, Atherton is the answer. It's not the most famous place on this list. It is, by every measurable standard, the most expensive. And somewhere in that gap between fame and cost, you'll find everything interesting there is to say about how wealth actually works in this country.
Number 9. Belvedere. If Ross is Marin County's quiet old money enclave on land, Belvedere is its equivalent on water. Technically an island city in San Francisco Bay, Belvedere is connected to the Marin mainland by a narrow causeway, and that geographic separation, almost more psychological than physical, has made it one of the most exclusive addresses in the entire Bay Area for well over a century. The town is extraordinarily small. The residential area of Belvedere Island is home to only a few hundred households, and the properties are stacked on steep hillsides in a way that gives nearly every home sweeping views of San Francisco Bay, the Golden Gate Bridge, the skyline, Angel Island, and on clear days, the Sierra Nevada in the distance. These are views you cannot replicate anywhere. The specific combination of geographic positioning, the quality of lights in the bay, and the sheer density of landmark scenery visible from a single vantage point makes Belvedere's visual real estate utterly unique. Home values here have tracked an extraordinary trajectory over the past 15 years, with prices effectively doubling and in some years coming close to tripling from their 2010 baselines. The current average sits well above $4 million, with trophy properties, especially those on the island's exposed western face with unobstructed Golden Gate views, routinely trading at prices that make even other Marin buyers do a double-take. A significant portion of the buyer pool comes from San Francisco proper, representing a very specific kind of tech and finance executive who has decided that the view from across the bay is better than the view from within it. The community culture in Belvedere is discreet to a degree that borders on reclusive. There are no hotels, no vacation rentals in any meaningful sense, no tourist infrastructure at all. You either live there or you don't go. The yacht harbor at the base of the island is active and well-maintained, and boating culture is deeply embedded in the community's identity. Belvedere's relationship with the bay isn't decorative. Residents actually use it. For a very particular type of buyer who wants to feel that they inhabit a genuinely beautiful, genuinely rare place, Belvedere answers that call completely.
Number 8. Hillsboro's northern neighbor. Marin County has always occupied a peculiar position in the Bay Area's geography of wealth. Just across the Golden Gate Bridge from San Francisco, it combines genuine natural beauty, redwood forests, coastal headlands, rolling hills, with some of the most expensive real estate in Northern California. And within Marin, no town carries quite the same level of quiet, entrenched prestige as Ross. Ross is tiny, fewer than 2,500 residents, one of the smallest incorporated towns in California, but what it lacks in size, it more than makes up for in price per square foot and the density of old money Bay Area families who have been living here for generations. Home values in Ross reached approximately $3.7 million in 2025, and the trajectory since 2010 shows that characteristic Marin pattern of steady, consistent appreciation that doesn't rely on any single industry's boom cycle. This is the kind of market that doesn't spike dramatically because it doesn't need to. Demand is constant, supply is structurally limited, and the people who live here tend not to leave. The physical setting contributes enormously. Ross sits in a valley surrounded by wooded hills with Corte Madera Creek running along its western edge. The tree canopy is extraordinary. The town is defined by enormous oak and bay laurel trees that have been growing for a century, and the combination of mature landscaping and traditional New England-style architecture gives the whole place a quality that feels genuinely old in the best possible way. You don't feel like you're in California. You feel like you're in a very expensive version of Connecticut. The commute into San Francisco is manageable, the ferry from nearby Larkspur makes it almost romantic, and the Marine school system consistently ranks among the best in the state. For Bay Area wealth that wants natural beauty, architectural character, community stability, and the specific reassurance of knowing exactly who your neighbors are and what they value, Ross delivers on every count. It's been delivering for well over a century, and nothing about that is likely to change.
Number 7. Los Altos Hills. If Montecito is where celebrities go to disappear, Los Altos Hills is where tech billionaires go to think. Tucked into the hills of Santa Clara County, just a short drive from the campuses of Google, Apple, and 100 other companies that have reshaped modern life, Los Altos Hills is the kind of place where your neighbor might casually mention that they're building a rocket ship and you wouldn't blink. The intellectual density here is unlike anywhere else in California. This is a community built not around old money or entertainment glamour, but around a very particular brand of engineering-minded, privacy-obsessed, quietly astronomical wealth. The town operates under strict rules that preserve its rural character, almost aggressively. Minimum lot sizes are 1 acre, no exceptions, and there are no sidewalks in Los Altos Hills by design. Instead of sidewalks, there's a network of horse and walking paths that wind through the hills. Commercial development is essentially banned. The result is a community that feels, improbably, like a rural enclave, despite sitting in the geographic heart of one of the most economically important regions on Earth. Home values have more than doubled since 2010, and the current average well clears $4 million, with many properties trading considerably higher. The proximity to Stanford University is both a practical and a philosophical draw. Many residents are either faculty, researchers, or graduates of the university who've gone on to build companies worth billions. The cultural identity of Los Altos Hills is deeply intertwined with Stanford's, and that relationship has driven consistent demand for decades. What you get for your money here is land, real land, with views of the bay, room for gardens and pools and guest houses, and the kind of quiet that you simply cannot find in flat Silicon Valley neighborhoods. Tech wealth tends to be newer wealth, which means buyers are sometimes less attached to the aesthetic conventions of old money enclaves. Los Altos Hills attracts people who want the best version of everything, and they're willing to pay for it without making a show of the payment. The homes here are extraordinary, most of them you'd never see from the road. Number 6. Montecito. Montecito is what happens when extremely wealthy people decide they're done with the spotlight and want somewhere beautiful to opt out of it. Located just east of Santa Barbara, nestled between the Santa Ynez Mountains and the Pacific Ocean, this small community of about 9,000 people has become, especially in the last 5 years, the most fashionable address in California for a very specific tier of ultra-wealthy individual. Not the showboaters, not the ones who want the paparazzi outside their gate, the ones who have made it so thoroughly that they no longer need to prove anything to anyone. The celebrity roster here reads like a who's who of people who have, at one point or another, been among the most famous humans on Earth. Oprah Winfrey owns over 70 acres in Montecito. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle moved here and sparked a genuine wave of attention that briefly made the town's real estate market even more competitive than it already was. Ellen DeGeneres has bought and sold multiple properties here over the years. The concentration of A-list names isn't a recent phenomenon. Montecito has been an escape for entertainment royalty since Hollywood's golden age, but the post-pandemic years turned what was already a prestigious market into something frenetic. Home prices here hit over $5.2 million on average in 2025, with that 2022 spike, nearly 50% appreciation in a single year, representing one of the most dramatic single-year value jumps of any luxury market in California history. That kind of appreciation doesn't happen by accident. It happened because a specific class of buyer suddenly decided that what they wanted most was exactly what Montecito offers: space, privacy, natural beauty, a genuine small-town infrastructure with excellent restaurants and boutiques, and a community of peers who understand the need for discretion. The estates here tend to be genuinely beautiful rather than just expensive. Mediterranean-style compounds with citrus orchards and olive trees, craftsman properties hidden behind mature hedgerows, contemporary builds that open entirely to the mountains or the ocean. There's an agricultural romanticism to the landscape. The hills around town are dotted with avocado farms and wine estates that gives even the most extravagant properties a grounded California land quality. It feels earned, it feels real, and right now, it feels like exactly where the wealthiest people in the world want to be.
Number 5. Beverly Hills. There is arguably no address in the world more culturally loaded than Beverly Hills. It's not just a place, it's a concept, an aspiration, a punchline, a dream, and a flex, all simultaneously. The 90210 zip code has been shorthand for obscene wealth and Hollywood glamour for so long that it's transcended its geographic reality and become a kind of global symbol, which makes it slightly ironic that Beverly Hills isn't actually the most expensive place to live in California. It's not even second. But that doesn't diminish what it is, which is one of the most extraordinary concentrations of luxury real estate anywhere on Earth. The average single-family home price in Beverly Hills as of mid-2025 sits at $5.4 million, and that number is shaped significantly by the huge range of properties within the city. Below Sunset Boulevard, you have the famous flats, gridded, walkable blocks of grand colonials and Spanish revivals and mid-century moderns that are expensive but not untouchable. Above Sunset, in the Beverly Hills Hills, things get genuinely insane. Properties on Mulholland Drive, on Coldwater Canyon, on streets that dead end at canyon ridges with panoramic views of the entire LA basin. Those aren't being listed for $5 million. They're being listed for $30 million, $50 million, $80 million, and they're still selling. What sustains Beverly Hills isn't just the celebrity factor, although that's real. The city is home to a remarkable density of entertainment industry executives, A-list actors, music moguls, and international buyers who want an LA address that travels well. What sustains it is the infrastructure of luxury that has been built up over a century. Rodeo Drive isn't just a shopping street, it's an ecosystem of wealth that makes the residents feel like the city is designed for them, because it essentially is. The private clinics, the five-star hotels, the restaurant scene, the level of city services, all of it is calibrated for a population that expects the best and has the money to demand it. Home prices peaked near $4 million in 2022 before some softening, but even during the correction, Beverly Hills demonstrated its essential quality. There's always another buyer. The market has cooled in the past 2 years, but cooled is relative when you're talking about a city where $4 million is considered a modest entry point.
Number 4. Rolling Hills. Most people who've spent significant time in Los Angeles don't know Rolling Hills exists. It's not on the way to anything, it doesn't have a Michelin-starred restaurant or a boutique hotel or a neighborhood coffee shop with a wait list. What it has is one of the most dramatic geographic settings in all of Southern California, a complete absence of commercial activity, and a gate. Actually, multiple gates, because Rolling Hills is one of the only fully gated cities in Los Angeles County where all access points are controlled and only residents and their approved guests can enter. The city sits on the Palos Verdes Peninsula, perched on bluffs above the Pacific that offer views that are, without exaggeration, some of the most stunning in the entire country. On a clear day, you can see Catalina Island from certain vantage points. The topography is rugged and dramatic in a way that feels completely at odds with most of the LA basin's flat suburban sprawl. And that physical isolation is a huge part of Rolling Hills' appeal. You're technically still in Los Angeles County, but it doesn't feel like it at all. The community covenants here are strict and have been since the city was established in the 1930s. Properties are required to maintain a horse-keeping capacity. Yes, really, and the minimum lot sizes are large enough that density has never been, and will never be, an issue. The equestrian culture here is genuine, not performative. There are miles of riding trails winding through the hills that residents use regularly, and the stables attached to many properties are in active use, not just decorative. Home values here pushed well past $3 million on average and have experienced some of the strongest appreciation in the 2021-2022 period that any LA County city saw. The buyer profile skews toward people who have already done the Beverly Hills chapter of their lives and are now looking for something that trades visibility for genuine privacy. These are people who are past needing to be seen. They want to disappear behind a gate and a hillside, and Rolling Hills gives them exactly that, with ocean views included. Number 3. Hillsborough. There's a very specific type of wealthy person who chooses Hillsborough over everywhere else, and once you understand what the town actually is, you understand exactly who that person is. Hillsborough is a residential-only town in San Mateo County, sitting between San Francisco to the north and Silicon Valley to the south, and it has no commercial zoning whatsoever. No shops, no restaurants, no coffee shops or dry cleaners or grocery stores within city limits, just homes. Enormous, expensive, immaculately maintained homes on large wooded lots. This wasn't an accident, it was the point. Hillsborough was incorporated in 1910, specifically to prevent commercial development from encroaching on what was already an enclave for San Francisco's elite. Over a century later, that mission remains very much intact. The homes here tend toward the grand and the traditional, sprawling estates with mature trees, circular driveways, and the kind of architectural details that take real money to maintain. The neighborhood has that particular quality of established wealth, where nothing is trying too hard because nothing needs to. The numbers are serious. Home values in Hillsborough have held consistently among the highest in Northern California, and proximity to San Francisco International Airport and the major tech campuses of Silicon Valley makes it logistically attractive for people who need to be everywhere at once. Executives who fly internationally on a regular basis have discovered that Hillsborough essentially sits in the perfect geographic sweet spot, close enough to everything, but designed to feel like it's far from all of it. The school system in Hillsborough was another major draw. The Hillsborough City School District consistently earns top ratings, and for families with serious money who want serious academics without committing to full-time private school, this is a compelling option. Homes regularly change hands for well above the county median, and supply is naturally constrained. You can't build your way out of a shortage when the town actively discourages density. For buyers who want privacy, prestige, and a genuine sense that they've arrived somewhere, Hillsborough delivers with very little noise. Number 2. Rancho Santa Fe. Most people, when they think of San Diego, think of Gaslamp Quarter, fish tacos, and Comic-Con. They don't think of sprawling horse estates tucked into inland hills where the silence is so complete you can actually hear yourself think. That's Rancho Santa Fe, and it's been quietly one of the most expensive real estate markets in the country for decades. Located about 25 miles north of downtown San Diego, Rancho Santa Fe is technically an unincorporated community in San Diego County, and that unincorporated status is part of what gives it such a distinctive character. There's no downtown grid, no commercial strip to speak of. The whole place feels like someone took the concept of estate living and turned it into a town.
The average lot size is massive by any standard, and the community deed restrictions, some of which date back to the 1920s when the Santa Fe Railway first developed the land, still govern things like tree removal and architectural style. Home prices here have climbed 135% since 2010, landing at over $4.3 million in 2025. But what's more telling is what happened between 2020 and 2025. Values surged by over 77% in just 5 years, one of the steepest post-pandemic jumps in the state. When wealthy people started rethinking their relationship with space and privacy after lockdowns, Rancho Santa Fe was exactly the kind of place that rose to the top of their lists. Large lots, equestrian facilities, gated enclaves within the broader community, and the kind of distance from neighbors that you simply cannot buy in more urban markets. All of that became suddenly very attractive to a class of buyers who already had the money but finally had the motivation to spend it. The properties themselves read like a catalog of what ultra-wealthy Californians imagine when they close their eyes and picture the good life. There are working ranches sitting next to Mediterranean villas, tennis courts, guest houses, citrus groves. Some estates have private stables. One property that sold a few years back came with its own helicopter pad. The golf club here, the Rancho Santa Fe Golf Club, was founded in 1929 and still operates with the kind of quiet, understated prestige that doesn't need to advertise. If you want to understand what old California money looks like when it has room to spread out, Rancho Santa Fe is the answer.
Number 1. Newport Beach. Newport Beach is one of those places that has always had money, but somewhere along the way it stopped trying to hide it. Sitting along the Orange County coastline, this city has been attracting wealthy buyers for decades, and the numbers back that up hard. Home prices here have surged over 157% since 2010, and as of 2025, the average home price sits above $3.4 million. That's not a penthouse in a high-rise. That's the going rate for a fairly standard house in a city where the marina is just part of the scenery. What makes Newport Beach interesting isn't just the price tag, it's the lifestyle infrastructure built around it. The harbor here is one of the largest recreational harbors on the West Coast, and a significant number of residents actually live on boats docked there, which adds this bizarre, transient meets ultra-wealthy energy to the whole place. Fashion Island, the city's open-air shopping center, looks and feels like a luxury retail theme park. The restaurants are the kind where you don't look at the right side of the menu. Balboa Island, a small strip of land in the middle of the bay, accessible only by ferry, is one of the most coveted micro-neighborhoods in all of Southern California. Homes there are crammed so close together you could practically hand your neighbor a cup of sugar through the window, but those homes routinely sell for $4 and $5 million. The beach house fantasy is alive and completely unaffordable here, and people love it for exactly that reason. The buyer pool in Newport Beach is diverse in a very specific way. You've got executives from nearby Irvine's corporate corridor, entertainment industry money flowing down from LA, finance professionals, and a steady stream of international buyers who want a Southern California address that carries genuine weight. The city saw a brief dip in values around 2019 and again in 2023, but both times the market bounced back quickly, which tells you something important. This isn't a speculative bubble. People genuinely want to be here, and there simply isn't enough space to meet that demand. If Newport Beach is on the lower end of this list, just wait until you see what comes next.
And somewhere in Atherton right now, behind a hedge, on a street with no sidewalks, someone just paid $12 million for a house that you will never see. Welcome to California. If you made it this far, you're exactly the kind of person who's going to love what's coming next on this channel. We've got deep dives into the world's most expensive real estate markets, the wildest property stories you've never heard, and a whole lot more California content in the pipeline. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of it. And seriously, leave a comment below. I want to know, which of these towns surprised you the most?
Is it the fact that Beverly Hills isn't even number one? The gates and rolling hills? Or just the sheer insanity of Atherton's price tags? Drop it below, because those conversations are genuinely my favorite part of making these videos. And if you've got a friend who's obsessed with real estate, architecture, or just things that are wildly out of reach, share this with them. Guarantee they'll have something to say about it.